Hi, welcome to the webinar. My name is Amanda Bentley. I'll be hosting today's session, and I am ecstatic you're joining us today for our presentation An Eye on Healthcare. Today's session is going to be about 40 minutes or so where I will walk you through how eye tracking is facilitating the adoption of digital health services and enhancing healthcare innovations. After that presentation, I'll open up the floor for some question and answer. And you can submit a question at any time during the presentation, or if you want to wait to the end, that's fine as well. So the idea of today's webinar came when I was speaking with some colleagues about the digital healthcare revolution. We were talking about how health tech has become ubiquitous over the last decade. I mean, almost everyone has a fitness or health tracker of some sort on their wrist or in their pocket. And I was telling them about how eye tracking is on a similar path, or even the same path. It's becoming present anywhere and everywhere, and how over the last decade, eye tracking has moved out of the labs, where it's been used for years to study health and human condition, and now actually into digital healthcare solutions. And then it got me thinking about the webinars that I hosted in early 2020 on the topic of how eye tracking was becoming an innovation catalyst for healthcare. Those sessions were a two-part series where I described the unique functionality and features eye tracking was adding to conventional medical devices and healthcare solutions. If you joined us then, fantastic. Super excited you're continuing the journey with us. If you didn't, no worries. It's not a requisite or anything for today's session. However, if you are interested, you can watch them on demand by visiting our Tobii Resource Center, which you can find here using this QR code. And those sessions, they were designed to illustrate how innovative eye tracking use cases were being used in groundbreaking new health tech. And eye tracking was being used several ways, but some of those were to promote medical safety, security, and improve efficiency or working conditions. We also talked about how it was being used to optimize machine system resources, and how it was also speeding up training and transfer of hard-to-teach skills, as well as aiding in the detection and treatment of some of the world's most prevalent diseases. So a lot of these topics are going to be similar to what we're talking about today, but the interesting thing is that we are going to review those sessions with a little bit of a different lens. At that time, we were just a few months into the pandemic, and I didn't know just how the pandemic would actually alter the trajectory of healthcare and the role eye tracking would play in helping digital healthcare solutions kind of take off. We were starting to see it a little bit at the time. Looking back now, it feels so obvious, but it's going to be very interesting to see the difference in how many new techniques and how VR is playing a role in all of this as well. Digital health services have been around for quite some time. If you really want to go back, I suppose we could say it's all the way back to the late 1800s when the first illness was diagnosed over the phone. But still, the instant surge in demand for digital care services during the pandemic really made tech innovators rise to the occasion. We saw years of tech development come to fruition in the span of a few months. Digital health services doubled in 2021. And the funding for new health innovation also doubled in 2021, as we were quickly forced to adapt our lifestyles and how we received healthcare. Those that were traditionally slower to adopt digital solutions, they really had no choice. You needed a digital health solution to provide remote patient care or monitoring, and it was essentially how medical training and education happened during the pandemic. It went from a nice to have to a necessity. And though we know digital health services can't replace all healthcare, many of the technological advances that came to be during the pandemic are here to stay. So if you go to the FDA website, they'll say digital health technologies help providers reduce inefficiencies, improve access, reduce costs, increase quality, and make medicine more personalized for patients. All great things. And as health consumers, we know digital health technologies enable us to manage and track our health and wellness more efficiently. It empowers us to make better informed decisions about our health. And we also appreciate that some of the clinical services that were typically only offered in clinics or hospitals are now available in our homes. And in many cases, those services are the only option for the vulnerable and underserved communities. And as for virtual reality or VR, the COVID-19 outbreak fostered massive growth for integration of VR into the medical industry, making it a real-world digital health tool for managing many aspects of healthcare. It's part of the reason for the widespread adoption. And it's not just for gaming or entertainment. It is transforming healthcare, delivering new types of treatments, and changing how and where care is delivered. For example, a physician, a patient, and caregiver, they can all use VR to help prepare for an upcoming treatment or procedure. We're going to talk about all this more as we delve into the topics. And so with that, let's actually look at the topics that we're going to cover in more detail. So you see here, the topics for today's agenda are similar to the ones that I mentioned that we covered in the 2020 sessions. But of course, now, after the pandemic, everything is much expanded and we have some new learnings to share. So we're going to review the role that eye tracking and what we at Tobii often refer to as attention computing is playing in facilitating the enhancement of healthcare innovations. So again, we're going to look at topics like medical assessments, treatment and therapy, training and education, as well as safety and awareness. All right, so you've been listening to me here for about 7 minutes already, but before we get into the good stuff, let's just take a minute and I'll tell you a little bit more about myself. So I've been working in the eye tracking industry for about 13 years, which is a lifetime in this arena, and all that time at Tobii. And I've had the opportunity to work in a couple different areas. So I started my Tobii career working with researchers that were using Tobii's proprietary eye tracking solutions in their research studies. And then I spent the last half of my career, and still doing this, helping companies use our eye tracking hardware and software solutions and actually integrate them into their own products or solutions in which they resell or deliver to the market. It's been a fantastic journey, and although we've accomplished so much, I feel like there is still so much more to do. And so that's a little bit about me. I think it's only fair to know a little bit about you. So we sent out that poll, and we did get some good responses, so thank you very much. One of the things we asked was the audience experience with eye tracking. And as expected, we had some people that this eye tracking is very new to them. And so for those folks, we'll just do a quick review. So if you're hearing about Tobii for the first time, we actually began our journey more than 20 years ago. Our founders, 3 entrepreneurs, they thought they had this novel idea to use their eyes in a new way to control a computer. And at the time, they believed that they were inventing eye tracking. But as it turns out, eye tracking already existed. But what our founders had invented, this thing right here, was a completely new approach to eye tracking, and one that ended up disrupting the industry and enabling this technology for mass market applications. And since those early days, we knew how powerful this technology could be. And so the quest has always been to create tech for a better future, building technology that works in harmony with human behavior. And while we talk a lot about eye tracking, I mean, it is our core technology, and you're probably going to hear me say it about 50 or 60 more times while we're together here today. But while we talk about eye tracking, we actually offer a wider set of capabilities and sensor technologies beyond. So machine learning, artificial intelligence, and advanced signal processing, that really lies at the heart of what we do. And again, the point is to use this tech to see and therefore better understand humans and their intent. And so we accomplish this by using dedicated technology. So we have an eye tracker, which is the hardware, and some type enabling software. And you can see here, the solutions have grown quite a bit from that very early eye tracker that I've showed you. They went obviously from that big giant screen to this teeny tiny little plug-and-play solution you see here. So they come in different shapes and sizes, all to fit different market needs. And they're commercially available as computers, tablets. You have the peripheral that I mentioned there, the USB peripheral. Also glasses with eye tracking sensors built right in, as well as virtual reality headsets. So as I mentioned, researchers can take and use these off-the-shelf tools and embed them as part of their research, or companies can purchase our eye tracking platforms to integrate those components into their custom solutions. And while there's all those different shape and sizes, the general principle of how they track the eye is pretty similar. So there's usually a specialized sensor or camera. It's directed towards the eye, taking images of the eye. We're capturing specific data points and applying our highly developed algorithms to calculate specific data on the eye. And then that information is then transformed into a data signal. And it's these data signals here, these primary signals, that can then be transformed to understand what captures person attention, interpret intent, as well as a number of different things here, understanding if somebody is drowsy, distracted, they're mind wandering. It's phenomenal, and it can all happen no matter who, no matter where. And a critical part of the journey is really understanding and delivering that end user value. So we see attention computing is the expanded foundation for Tobii on its journey to enable machines to communicate with humans and understand humans on human terms. And today's session is focusing on healthcare. We're going to dive in here in just a second, but I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that eye tracking and attention computing is being harnessed in many industries and vertical applications. So as I mentioned earlier, we can enable scientists or researchers to explore the brain and human vision in greater depth, provide market researchers with insights to optimize customer experiences and making shopping more enjoyable, provide tools to educators to help automate reading assessments, provide tools for immersive gaming for both PC and virtual reality, as well as tools to improve productivity, training, safety. We're going to talk about that in a little bit more detail, but it's not just used in healthcare, it's used in many different industries. The application for attention computing is limitless. Now that we've set the stage, it's time to dig into the key topics. And so we're going to start with medical assessments. This is one that I have been working with customers in for quite some time, and an area where I am very proud to be part of working with these companies to help them get these remarkable tools off the ground. The advancements in medical technologies really accelerated since we covered this in 2020. And they are continuing. They were starting then, but they are really continuing, really getting out there to revolutionize healthcare and push the boundaries of what healthcare professionals, caregivers, and even what patients can achieve regarding their own health medical assessments. If you do a Google search, you would see that across the healthcare sector, there are numerous research papers and there are numerous companies out there that are developing and creating new and inventive ways to diagnose and detect illnesses and disabilities, providing a modern and efficient way to do this. And at the core of many of these technologies is eye tracking. And some of the reason for that is because eye tracking has a significant advantage over other tools or methods, because we cannot fully control our eyes like other senses. So there are many tests out there that are subjective. People can pretend not to hear, deliberately provide false information, move in an exaggerated way. But we can't control our eyes like that to the same degree. So the tests that are built on eye tracking are considered to be more objective. They're harder to fake compared to self-reports, especially when it may behoove a person to understate their symptoms. Furthermore, it also can help people that struggle or may have a hard time verbalizing what they are feeling, or how they're feeling. But it's also more than that. So it's also the fact that the eye and eye data, eye movements, are a highly reliable source of information for assessing brain functionality, attention deficiencies, and vision impairments because of the eye-brain connection. So we've heard of the eye-brain connection literature for years. We know it exists rhetorically, anatomically, and functionally, making the eyes then a gateway for understanding cognitive processes. So because of that connection, information such as the rate at which the eye blinks, the size of the pupil, or how the eye follows or tracks certain stimuli, that type of information can be used then as a predictor or biomarker for many diseases. And the only way to accurately capture that data is to use an eye tracker. And so companies then are using eye tracking and building software that can detect these eye movements and give indicators then for these different types of diseases. And what is amazing is that in many cases, these tools can detect traces of diseases years before traditional methods would be able to give a clinical diagnosis. So this is allowing for early intervention and treatment to improve the relative progression of the diseases. So our friends at ViewMind, I think they said it best. They were featured on CBS News describing their solution for early diagnosis of neurological disorders. And I just absolutely love the video, so I'm going to share it here with you.
It's been known for a long time that eye movements change as a result of changes in cognition. And much has been written about this in medical journals, but nobody's been able to build a robust diagnostic solution to tap into that signal from the brain. And that's what ViewMind has been able to do.
The eye is the window, is a reflection of your brain, not only anatomically, but also functionally. The way it moves, the way that actually you can pay attention to somebody or not, the way that actually the eye moves during different normal and abnormal brain states really helps you to determine and diagnose specific diseases that are difficult to diagnose otherwise.
Since the last 18 years, we are relating different eye movements with specific cognitive functions and related areas of the brain. Currently, the analysis of eye movements allows ViewMind to identify how different diseases affect person's health.
Assessing a person is a very simple process. Our product is comprised of a VR headset with eye tracking, a laptop, and ViewMind's software. A patient undergoes a 15-minute test, data is uploaded into our servers, and an actionable report is sent to the physician to access, which contains data that they can use to make a proper diagnosis.
I believe that ViewMind can become the gold standard in neurological healthcare diagnosis. But I also believe in the future possibilities of ViewMind in making a significant contribution to the situational readiness of our nations, of our companies, and of our societies.
I think the future of medicine is prevention. We are developing therapeutic options for people that present, specifically actually brain diseases, by being able to screen millions of patients and diagnose the ones at risk. Can be very, very impactful for society. Tools that are fast, quick to implement, and actually provide easy access to patients, can really disrupt the way that we diagnose and manage neurological disorders.
We're very excited about the potential impact that the technology could have on millions of people's lives.
Such a great video. I love seeing the incredible work ViewMind is doing for those who may suffer from neurodegenerative diseases. And like them, many companies are leveraging eye data to reshape health assessments and detection for other diseases and impairments. There are many companies that are still in the development or testing phase, but numerous are already further along in providing commercial solutions today for healthcare professionals. RightEye is a great example, and I mention them quite a bit as they provided their tools to healthcare professionals for years now. They have purpose-built solutions for optometry, medicine, education, and sports. They're actually known for the world's first commercialized eye tracking solution for general health care and wellness. And while most standard exams only check the eye's physical health and ability to focus on stationary objects, RightEye's solution measures dynamic vision skills, such as eye movement and coordination. Their invention uses automated eye tracking assessments to identify eye movement disorders that are too subtle for a clinician to see with their own eyes. So in 5 minutes, doctors measure visual skills in ways that a standard exam cannot, offering a better tool to diagnose and treat underlying vision issues that affect the patient's quality of life. Their comprehensive software also provides therapy tools, tools that quantitatively measure patient progress and improvement with vision therapy. Another example is Novasight, who has created a vision assessment system. It's as easy as asking a patient to watch a short video on an eye tracking tablet. Yep, that's it. So their exceptional product also addresses weaknesses with current vision screenings. And that weakness, again, being they don't really mimic real life. So for a child that's going through a vision exam, they're sitting in a doctor's office, it's under controlled lighting, they're looking at a chart at a fixed distance, usually asked to keep their head still. Unnatural, and not the easiest thing for a young child. But watching videos on a tablet, that's a real-world activity. I see it every day in my house with my young children. And so it's that easy. The cooperation for the patient, for the child, is just watching fun and short animated videos. All the science is wholly automated in the back and doing all the assessment. And so these tools are being used with a wide range of professionals, so ophthalmologists, optometrists, pediatricians, opticians. It's a powerful tool for providing better care, especially for children. And so those two partners have integrated Tobii's desktop solutions into their tablet devices. But like ViewMind, there are many companies that are using commercially available VR headsets that have the Tobii eye tracking already built into the device. And so pictured here, that's an example. This is the Pico Neo 3 Pro Eye, developed by our wonderful partner Pico. This headset has actually become one of the tools of choice for many companies that are building healthcare solutions. And that's because Pico has done a great job at making this device plug and play. It's standalone, meaning it doesn't need to be plugged into a computer or phone. It's highly customizable, so it can be programmed in such a way that when the doctor or a patient turns it on, it can automatically run the healthcare application without a whole lot of setup. And then because it's an all-in-one solution, it's super portable, and it can easily ship to a doctor's office or even to a patient's home, which many of our partners are doing. And while there's the headset, Tobii also provides tools such as Tobii Ocumen, which can then make it easy for our partners that are using those headsets to develop their eye tracking applications for VR. And so React Neuro is a perfect example. They are using the Pico Neo 3 Pro Eye with Tobii Ocumen to build phenomenal brain health solutions that are being used by professional sports teams, senior living facilities, and more. So their solution, it designs and captures digital biomarkers based on their decades of research, uses eye tracking, voice, head and body movements, all through immersing the patient in a personalized virtual reality experience. And so then their software, their platform, aggregates findings from all of this data, and then they can deliver never seen before actionable insights for physicians. It's highly portable. You see it right here. It's basically a tablet and that VR headset. And so this system, that's all you need. And then you can identify subtle cognitive performance changes and craft tailored recommendations for each of your patients or users. And it doesn't matter their location, their age, their background. The platform can provide all of this world-class care at their fingertips in about 10 minutes. So using the potential of eye tracking, plus of course their science and know-how, these partners are creating solutions that provide key pieces to the overall health diagnostics puzzle. So they are key in helping medical practitioners provide better care, but also grow their services, increase referrals, and differentiate themselves in a competitive market. There are so many more astonishing partners that we work with in the medical assessment world. I wish I had the time to share info on all of them. Maybe we need to do another webinar. Well, before I get ahead of myself though, let's focus on this one and now talk a little bit about treatment and therapy. So I already mentioned it a little bit when we were talking about RightEye, but many of the same partners that are building assessment tools are also creating tools for preventative care, treatment, and in some cases, therapy solutions. And of course, that's all they specialize in is treatment and therapy. And of course, eye tracking is playing an important role in these applications as well. And so here are some of the areas where we are providing eye tracking solutions to researchers and commercial entities that are performing the research and building the solutions that are paving the way for groundbreaking treatment and therapy methods. Optics Trainer is a good example of that. So they are building digital therapy solutions where their patients can perform treatment or therapy at home while being monitored remotely by a practitioner. So such healthcare is often more cost-effective than in-person therapy, as well as it eases access to services, especially for those that may live in rural or distant areas. So using the technology at home then minimizes commuting to a facility, worrying about scheduling a time for specific medical appointments, and in many cases then can also allow for additional hours of treatment that a patient normally couldn't get at an office. With solutions like BrainLeap's Attention Arcade, therapy sessions become a gamified experience, one that motivates patients to achieve better results via virtual goals and achievements. The Attention Arcade, I've had the opportunity to play. It's a collection of fun and rewarding PC games, and it uses the eye movements to control on-screen action. It's built on the premise that the eyes and attention move in tandem. And so Attention Arcade improves and strengthens focus and attention skills. It's for children with attention deficient hyperactivity disorder and provides a number of rewarding results for them when they follow the program. It's the only gaze-driven intervention designed to train attention. I'm going to mention Novasight again because they recently became an FDA-cleared eye-tracking-based amblyopia treatment. So amblyopia, often referred to as lazy eye, it affects about 240 million individuals, and if it's not treated, it can actually put patients at risk for eventual vision loss. And today, the gold standard treatment for lazy eye is placing a patch over the strong eye, which is antiquated. And it's a solution that usually suffers from low compliance, as many children do not want to wear an eye patch. So with CureSight, just like their other tool, patients watch a few minutes of videos every day on a tablet that's equipped with eye tracking hardware. The videos are precisely blurred, so the patient's lazy eye must compensate. So all the child has to do is wear those glasses and watch a video. And again, all of the technology is happening in the back end to help correct the eye. And so those are examples of solutions that are using a screen-based approach. But just like we've mentioned before, especially in the last few years, VR is growing in many areas for advancing in treatment and therapy. And so some areas where it's really growing is in treating chronic pain and anxiety. It's being used in many different types of rehab solutions, orthopedic and neuro rehab. We see it used in geriatrics and pediatrics. Very interesting thing, especially in therapy sessions, because it's virtual environment. You can do very interesting things like program it where you have an AI-based virtual instructor, and that instructor can basically supervise the therapy sessions. Or there's also partners out there that do have a actual instructor, a physical therapist, that joins remotely, and so they can actually communicate with the person that may be at their home wearing the VR headset while they're going through their therapy. I'm going to hover on VR here for a moment. So what's interesting to me is how much this area has grown in the last few years. So I think in 2020, when we had the webinars, we were talking about how this had been used in research, and we were starting to see some of these applications come to fruition and how excited we were to see how they would grow. 3 years later, my mind is kind of blown how much they have grown. Part of that reason, of course, is the technology has advanced, and the phenomenal tools like the Pico device and the advantages we talked about before in being plug and play and very portable. But also because VR has an advantage that really no other technology has. It can immerse a patient into an environment. So, for instance, a psychologist could use it for virtual exposure therapy. So you can create an environment that would mimic dangerous or impractical or difficult to fabricate or control type of environment. Immerse the patient in there. So if you think those that maybe have phobias, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, you can immerse them there, go through the therapy, and it will provide a safe, repeatable, controlled environment for this type of therapy. If you think of the opposite, though, it's also being used in pain management and putting people in more optimistic or pleasant environments. When you put a patient into a pleasant environment, it is actually shown that it can reduce acute and chronic pain, improve mental and physical relaxation, even lower blood pressure. Research has also shown that it reduces stress. Again, this is because you can engage the patient and immerse them with their visual as well as auditory senses. There's some very interesting research out there about how VR experiences are helping sick and injured children deal with their treatments, providing an escape into digital worlds and games. So it's distracting them from their pain and anxiety. And we're actually seeing it also with women in labor. It's kind of interesting. That's something that I'm going to see how that area grows. But also, we're working with partners that are doing great things to remove the need for pharmaceuticals in many cases, or work alongside them. But they can actually reduce the need through some of these virtual reality treatments, therapies. And of course, eye tracking is enhancing VR therapy for the same reasons. It can provide that unbiased, objective, and quantifiable information about the patient, what they're looking at, but also help understand more about what type of stimuli may be triggering an emotional response, especially in like the trauma or exposure therapy sessions. So it's very interesting how these changes can really improve the treatment. All right, so how are we doing so far? That concludes the first two sections. I appreciate your attention thus far. I hope you are finding these sessions enjoyable and informative. I'm going to switch gears though. I'm going to talk about how attention computing is being used to capture, understand, and improve performance and learning. We know it doesn't matter the industry, it doesn't matter the job. It is difficult to transfer skills from highly skilled employees to new staff, but it's essential. And tacit knowledge is very hard to articulate and is often missed in standard training processes. But eye tracking can help capture that type of information and make it easier to transfer knowledge. Efficient skills transfers then enables improved productivity, processes, quality, and safety. All good things. And so where we sit, we have seen that the past several years, enterprises across the automotive, manufacturing, transportation, healthcare, law enforcement, even professional sports teams, they've been starting to implement eye tracking as a pivotal tool to transfer tacit knowledge from their top operators and develop optimized training programs for new and experienced staff. So how does this work? Well, if you think about it, we make sense of the world through our eyes, and 80% of all learning comes through the eyes. So if only there was a tool that could capture exactly what a person sees, hears, and says. Oh wait, that's the Tobii Pro Glasses 3. So this is Tobii's wearable eye tracker, and it'll do the trick. It captures precisely what an individual sees, hears, and says while performing a task, without disturbing any natural behavior. Dr. Douglas Miyazaki, the inventor of the Mia model, he is a self-professed technologically challenged individual. He said that, not me. And he was pleasantly surprised that the Tobii wearable eye tracker was turnkey and easy to use. He said he was amazed by how much information you could get from seeing where he looked during surgery. And using this type of technology, he uncovered several benefits in the form of what he called economies of motion and economies of learning. And so we're going to take a look at those benefits. And yes, that pun is intended. The first is the ability to visually demonstrate techniques from a teacher or expert's perspective. One of the best ways to acquire a new skill is to learn from somebody, watch what they do and try to emulate it. But if only it were that easy. The skill set of an experienced medical practitioner takes years to develop and results in tons of time and practice. Many techniques are attached to cognitive processes. They're subconscious and instinctive, making them very hard to explain. Medical professionals, they learn by years of doing, making and learning from mistakes and devising shortcuts. So eye tracking, it provides a method to identify, observe, and record those behaviors. So it gives students basically a front row view into the mind of an experienced medical practitioner. That is invaluable knowledge that is hard to capture any other way. And additionally, with eye tracking, students can remotely see a live surgical procedure, and then of course it can be replayed for later in-depth reviews. And so, for instance, the German Heart Center in Berlin, that's what their instructors were doing. So they were tracking themselves while performing complicated procedures, including heart bypass surgeries. And the students were watching the operation on a monitor while the surgeons were wearing the glasses, and they could see exactly then what the doctors were looking at. The instructor didn't have to stop the procedure and gesture or point. The students could see just by where they, if you see here in the video, it's kind of small, but you can see that little dot, that's actually pinpointing then where the doctor is looking. The next benefit is the ability to create personalized learning experiences. So instructors appreciate using eye tracking to assess student performance. You can peek into the student's thought process and see how they make decisions as they complete tasks. The data is, again, available in real time, so you can get instant feedback, or can be reviewed afterwards with the student, and you can give feedback then with the student sitting next to you. It personalizes the process, and it is proven to speed up learning. And what's interesting, there is a perceived difference in learning between students who eye track themselves and those who watch videos of others conducting the procedures. So students who replay and watch eye tracking videos of them performing tasks, they have a more personal connection, are more engaged, and have a deeper comprehension then of what they did right and what they did wrong. Students who watch somebody else do the procedure, on the other hand, they had a totally different learning experience. So this way of working then shortens the learning curve as they can see the immediate consequence of their actions. So you put that together, you can also compare then and contrast and score the focus, search patterns, reaction times, and dwell times of the students versus the experts. In addition to the video, Tobii offers a software that can help analyze and easily compare the performance of the novice or trainee versus the more skilled professional. It helps create powerful visualizations like gaze plots or the heat maps that are pictured here. So even the best performers know it's important to stay sharp and enhance skills or find efficiencies in their performance or work. So an added benefit that Dr. Miyazaki saw was the ability to uncover where experienced professionals could minimize unnecessary movements, especially ones that would otherwise add to a total surgical time. So for instance, when he used the glasses, he discovered he adjusted surgical lights 30 times during the procedure. Each time he looked away, it took an additional 10 seconds to refocus. So if he could learn that and then keep his eyes focused on the patient while making these adjustments, he could shave off minutes to the total length of the surgery. And of course, lengthy surgery times, they can lead to increased risk complications. So this reduction in time can be quite critical. And here's VR again. It is significantly impacting medical training and education, just like the other areas. It's because it exceeds many traditional training methods and, of course, for the other benefits we mentioned, immerses the trainee or professional into the environment. So a study from Harvard Business Review showed that VR training improved participants' overall surgical performance by 230% compared with traditional training methods. And Accenture said 82% of healthcare professionals agree that virtual reality creates a convenient way of accessing and learning information for medical students and practicing healthcare professionals. And of course, it delivers a cost-effective, repeatable, and standardized way of training on demand. It's also being used to practice social interactions and empathy training. So nurses, physicians, they can learn to develop communication mechanisms with simulated patients under various conditions before actual medical practice. It's helping medical students and professionals enhance their understanding of age-related health problems, helping increase then their empathy for older adults and those that may have vision or hearing loss. And of course, authentic empathy begins with eye contact. So many of these applications use eye tracking to confirm that the student is making eye contact. And that data, of course, then can provide effective and objective feedback and coaching. Okay, so with the remaining time, I'd like to share a few examples of how attention computing and eye tracking is supporting technologies for general safety and well-being. And so first up is bedside terminals enabled with eye tracking to offer patients a more comfortable hospital experience. So patients with permanent or temporary movement or speech disabilities, maybe coming recently out of surgery, they can communicate and access entertainment systems, control the TV with their eyes without assistance from anyone else. Similarly, it can also improve then the nurses' workstations and computers. So a station equipped with an eye tracker, the nurse can use then their eyes to control the computer. It enables touchless interaction. It's intuitive, effortless, especially when wearing gloves. And it can also help reduce the spread of germs and lowering the need to clean the computers and devices. And it could potentially be set up so that it can detect the presence and attention of a nurse when he or she is standing in front of it, and also when he or she is not in front of it. So if it's not detecting the eyes of a nurse, it will automatically blur the screen to uphold any privacy or integrity of data that could be on the screen. It could potentially even log out if it senses that an unauthorized user is trying to look at the information. It can also improve workflow and ergonomics and increase safety measures for medical devices and other types of healthcare machines. So with intuitive interaction features that are obtainable with eye tracking, it can relieve the workload on busy hands and help extend the careers of those who perform demanding or tedious tasks day after day. Another example is eye tracking in surgical robots, which we have some great articles on our website. I encourage you to check out. The medtech companies, many that are developing these types of machines, they're using eye tracking to enrich the surgeon's workflow. So the surgeon, while they have their hands on the tools, can basically use their eyes to pan, scroll, zoom, select objects, move the surgical camera on the screen, all while keeping the hands on the controls. And it can also measure vigilance, alertness, and concentration. So the robot then can be programmed to automatically send an alert or cease operation if the device senses that the operator, the surgeon, is not fit. And of course, it doesn't have to be used just in the hospital. For instance, self-service kiosks. For the same reasons, you can use it as an input device to minimize spread of germs and enable that touchless interaction. So this next one, this is for everyone. We all spend more time in front of our computer screens, which can often lead to headaches and bad posture and stress. And I don't think this trend is going away. And as it continues, we need devices to help increase productivity and well-being. And that's exactly what Tobii Aware does. Tobii Aware is a software solution, and it includes several of these smart features to enable privacy, security, productivity, and well-being for people that are using their PCs. So it's providing insights on the screen, so you can see, usage, work time, and understand unhealthy habits, and then of course make changes. It can also be used to bring some intuitive and seamless interaction features that may reduce mouse mileage, again, helping keep stress levels to a minimum. In this software, it's already integrated into a wide range of personal computing products, which you can see here on our screen and also find on our website. But this is just the beginning. I speculate there's a lot more to come in this area in the next few years. The next example is a public safety example. So gone are the days of the follow my finger subjective DUI tests. Gaze is building the fastest, safest, and most reliable roadside DUI detection device. So eye data, such as pupil diameter or involuntary jerking of the eyes, called nystagmus, it can be used to assess if somebody is under the influence of drugs and alcohol. So Gaze has built this digital eye tracking assessment tool on the Pico headset to automate field sobriety tests, eliminating human error and providing clear, objective data on intoxication. My last example, I think this is one that everybody can be a little bit excited about. I wanted to share what Tobii is working on in the automotive space to help prevent accidents. So 2/3 of all drivers are distracted seconds before an accident. So using eye tracking and attention computing, Tobii has built a driver monitoring system that can generate alert signals when a driver is inattentive or showing signs of drowsiness or cognitive overload. And when combined with other sensors, maybe the speedometer, the vehicle can then determine the best course of action. So if it's issuing a warning or if it's handing the car over to the car's autopilot technology. Because technologies like attention computing can generate tons of data, it's possible that we could also leverage that data with additional safety features and even usability features. So for example, you could monitor how often the driver is checking the rearview mirrors or enable gaze-controlled interaction for systems like the in-car entertainment. Vehicle manufacturers, they're rapidly adopting these types of prevention systems. Actually, in the EU, these driver monitoring systems will be mandatory on all new vehicles, including buses, trucks, hazardous goods carriers. And I'm sure it won't be long until other parts of the world adopt the same similar standards as the European Union. I wish we could spend more time together, but I fear our hour is almost up. And so with that, it was my goal to walk you through the here and now advancements attention computing and eye tracking are making in the digital transformation of healthcare, and give you a glimpse at the road ahead. Tobii is dedicated to advancing attention computing technology and access to the technology to allow researchers and companies improve their existing work and expand into new areas. We're going to have to do this again in 3 years to see how far we go. Maybe in that webinar, we will showcase the new developments of one of you who has joined us today. It's about time for Q&A, but first I want to thank everybody for joining us today and your time and attention. If you are interested in learning about the customers or the use cases I presented today, you can use the QR code on the left to access our online resource center. If you are wondering how eye tracking can elevate your work or help solve a specific research issue, or understand how utilizing eye tracking technology can improve training efficiency, or even curious about leveraging eye data or gaze control in your healthcare solution, please reach out. You can write me directly via the email address here, or submit a request to our global team using the QR code on the right. So great, with our remaining time, let's hear your questions. Okay, so I see a few questions here regarding user privacy. Just as a reminder, you can submit your questions here right into there should be like a little questions panel. So if you haven't submitted one yet, please do. But I see here one regarding privacy from Sam Travers. Thank you, Sam. It says, it's encouraging to see the value eye tracking data brings, but how does Tobii protect user privacy? Sam, thank you for this question. I am very happy you asked this. So Tobii is very conscientious about protecting the sensitive information of end users on the other side of the eye tracker. But it's not just about privacy. For us, it's about privacy and transparency. So a few years ago, we enacted the Tobii data transparency policy. And that policy requires anytime any data coming from a Tobii eye tracker is stored or transferred, the user needs to be clearly informed and actively accept that their information is being recorded. There should also be some type of mechanism that lets the user know when storage of data is taking place. So if you look at the recording button here on GoToMeeting or any of the different meeting platforms, it usually lets you know when something's being recorded. Or if you think like on the iPhone, the little orange or green dots. So very similar to that. And then the recommendation is also that the user understands why they are providing their data. We call it the what's in it for them policy. So this is for clarity, when we say storing or transferring data, this means saving any of the data that comes from the eye tracker beyond the length of the user session. So any method for sharing the data so that it can be accessed or observed by others in retrospect or in real time, and like a separate display or device. What else? So implementation of that policy obviously may be a little bit different. It applies to researchers using our proprietary research tools, but it also applies to customers integrating eye tracking into their solutions. For example, some of the customers I showed using like the Pico headset, their software, in that case, it needs to comply with the policy, and usually there's a process where we guide them through and how to implement it for their specific use case. Again, the implementation may be a little bit different if you think about like the legal roadside test versus some of the different medical tests for like autism and other disorders or disabilities. But at the end of the day, it's pretty much the same thing. Active user acceptance of some sort by the person on the end or a legal guardian. And of course, them knowing why and then knowing when the data is actually being recorded. It's actually a policy I'm really proud of, and we find that most of our partners and that we work with are very receptive and appreciative of it. So I hope that tackled that question. Okay. Can you share some of the materials that you presented here with me today? And I apologize, I can't see who's asking this question. But yes, so we will absolutely share the recording. So this is being recorded as a reminder, and we will share this out. So you should get an email in the next day or so with the recording. But also, please reach out to me directly, or I can follow up with you directly. But anybody that's interested in more materials on some of these different partners I mentioned, some of the different use cases I mentioned, we are happy to provide all of that. You can find some of it already naturally on our resource center, but I'm also happy if you reach out to basically help you with what you need and package it up specifically. Is Pico goggles with eye tracking available for purchase? Yes, so there is the Pico Neo 3 Pro Eye is a generation with the Tobii eye tracking already built into it. So it is available for purchase directly through Pico. And it has, as I mentioned, you can basically, with purchase through Pico, take it. They offer a software development kit where you can implement eye tracking basically out of the box. Of course, it takes some development skills and whatnot into your application, but you can get a lot of the standard, what we call eye tracking signals or data. However, in addition to that, Tobii does offer, as I mentioned, the Tobii Ocumen solution, which sits on basically in addition to the Pico device. So if you do want some developer tools that are basically plug and play, help extract the data out of the device and into your application that you're developing, it definitely helps with that. I consider it to be a developer's best friend, but it will also help get at some of the data streams or signals that aren't available through the Pico SDK when you purchase the system out of the box. So it allows you to get at a deeper level of data, such as like pupil data. So if you're interested in pupil data with the Pico device, reach out and we can talk to you about how you can license the Tobii Ocumen product and all the other benefits that it brings to your application development. Okay, let me take at least one more here. It was very interesting, thank you. More details about the amblyopia treatment, absolutely, I will send that information. Are there APIs for Windows C++? Yes, you're in luck. So that's the majority or most of our software development kits and APIs are Windows-based. Depending on the product, there may be some others, but Windows C++ is native. Let's see. Interesting to have some use case studies to educate about eye tracking devices. Yeah, so there's a lot of really good questions here. I think some I will be happy to follow up with in person because we could probably provide more specifics that way. Is it possible to have collaborative project with your researchers to collect pilot data for grant proposals? This is a phenomenal question. So Tobii, we have a team across the globe. It is our funding support team, and they do just this. So if you are interested, and I apologize, I cannot see who asked this question in my setup right now, but I will find out, and we can follow up with you directly. We have PhD Marissa Biondi here in the US, if you're in the US, and I can have her follow up with you. And she has counterparts in other parts of the world too that we can follow up and see if there's a possible collaboration or a way that we can support you here. But anybody in general that is interested in this, please reach out directly, or you can find more information if you go to the Tobii website or Google Tobii funding support services. Let me see if I can find one more. There's a question here about eye tracking tools for neuromarketing. So we didn't cover too much of that in today's session. We do have some other webinars that focus specifically on that I'll be happy to point you to, as well as some other material, and again, be happy to get you in touch with some of our colleagues around the world that focus specifically on neuromarketing. It's been a few years since I worked in that realm specifically, so I hate to speak to it directly, but we have plenty of experts, and I'll be happy, hopefully, when I can open this up and see who exactly asked the question and follow up with you directly. So we are a few minutes over time, so I'm going to wrap up. I want to appreciate everybody here. I know there's some questions I didn't get to, but like I said, I will follow up with each of you individually, or feel free to email me directly here, amanda.bentley@tobii.com. I really appreciate you joining us today. I hope you learned a thing or two, and I hope to see you again on another Tobii webinar session or have the opportunity to speak with you. So thank you.